this is Justin and welcome to my channel. So on today's video, I'm going to be giving some more tips and tricks to our beginning sewers. So our beginner sewers really kind of trying to fill out what they can do, what they can create, where they can find stuff to craft with, all that good stuff. So my best advice is to get you good essentials. And you can find good essentials anywhere. So number one thing, very good scissors. You need sharp scissors. One thing that you should know, each pair of scissors should have their own purpose. So scissors that you use to cut paper should not be the same scissors that you use to cut fabric or felt or your kitchen shears. Literally everyone needs a different purpose. And you can get scissors anywhere. So you can definitely get scissors at the dollar store. This is from Dollar Tree. This is, just a generic brand. They do sell the General All-Purpose Westcott brand, which is a very good brand actually. But these general purpose ones can go dull very easily, especially if you're using them for different mediums. So paper, fabric, etc. So what I would suggest is to invest in some really good quality scissors. So I have a few different types. I have regular Westcotts. Again, these are general all-purpose. And then I have the titanium, which is heavy duty. So again, this can be found at Dollar Tree. This was $1. I imagine this same brand can be found at discount stores like Walmart. I actually got this pair of scissors, or both actually, from a bargain discount store. But you can get these from craft stores, and just be aware of the different quality. Now the same with sewing. So if you're going to be using a sewing machine, be aware that each time you change fabric types, so from cottons to felt, silk, polyester, tulle, all those different things, you're supposed to change that needle. And a lot of people don't know that. So what I try to do when I make sewing projects, I like to stay in the same medium for at least my first 3 projects. So I don't have to worry about changing the needle out. Because when you start sewing with different textures, those fibers affect the sharpness of the needle, and also those fibers can go into your machine bed inside where your bobbin is, and they can cause debris. So that's again why I like to stay within the same medium for a couple of projects in, so I don't have to worry about replacing or changing my needle. Now a lot of people may have questions about fabrics and if they are too expensive or they really don't know what to get. You can find fabrics anywhere. One of my favorite things to do is to turn inexpensive kitchen towels into doll bedding. And this is from Dollar Tree. This is what we're actually going to work with today. You can also use felt. Felt comes in many different colors, solids, and prints. So you can definitely get a whole bunch of different things just with felt. You can get felt, like I said, in solid colors and in patterns. Another key thing that you're going to need are sewing pins. So pins are good because they're going to help keep your creases and keep your lines together when you're sewing, and also trying to match up your ends. So those are good things to keep handy. And you also don't have to use a sewing machine. A regular sewing needle and thread is fine. For those who can afford sewing machines or have learned to use them, use them. But if you're not there yet, regular needle and thread is fine. It's just gonna take you longer. Another thing that you can use is pre-cut strips. So there are fabric quarters that you can buy at places like Walmart, different craft stores. They can range anywhere. Even Dollar Tree has them. You can get them from literally $1 at Dollar Tree or Walmart, and then they range up to like $2 or $3 based on if it's a more luxurious fabric type or pattern. And you can also get pre-cut strips, and this is very handy if you want to make pillows or smaller things instead of having to worry about big long fabrics by the yard. So those are the things to be aware of. So what we're going to do now, we are going to actually show a project of how to make doll bedding. So I'm going to be making a comforter and a pillow or two using one dish towel. And you can use polyfill. This is a couple of dollars at craft stores and Walmart. But you can definitely, especially for doll bedding, you can use cotton balls from the dollar store or Walmart. Or you can use old pillows that aren't used anymore. And you can recycle the inner stuffing. So those are some of the things that you can do to get your materials. So now I'm going to change my setup so that we can show you how to use some doll bedding. And I'm going to be using this Barbie size bed as an example. Okay guys, so here's my Barbie bed. And basically what I'm going to do is I am going to measure out roughly how much fabric that I need. Now one key thing that I like to keep in mind, especially when using busy patterns or patterns that have large motifs on them, I try to keep that motif centered so that it looks good on the finished product. So like this, it has a large pineapple. So I want to kind of line this up so that that pineapple is kind of center stage. So what I'm going to do, since we already have finished edges, I'm going to leave that as is. And then at the top of the bed, cut off a couple of inches. And then I'm going to hem the top. So really at the end, we're really going to have to only hem one side because all of the other three sides are already finished for us. So we're only going to have to worry about where we're cutting. Okay, so I have my good sharp scissors, and I'm going to make my initial cut. So when I measured the bed, the top of the headboard was kind of like right here. So what I do is add a few inches, and that'll give me not only a seam allowance, but also room to kind of make the bed a little bit more plush, so that you can pull it down and even fold it down to kind of make it look more neat on the bed. So that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna cut it right about here. And with my extra sharp scissors, as you can see, it is going right through this very thick dish towel. So I'm just going to take that to the side. And now, since we have our cut, what we're going to do, we're going to fold this down and we're going to hem it on the top. And we're going to do a slight hem allowance right here. And then to cover this rough edge, we are going to fold it one more time so we don't see the rough edge. And then I'm going to use a few pins to stabilize this as I sew it as well. Okay, so now that my edges are smooth, I'm going to pin it down. And also the key to this, if you have certain fabrics that won't naturally lay, you may need to iron them. But for this relatively stays flat. But to ensure that it doesn't move, we are going to stabilize it with a few pins, just like this. And then we're going to go and top stitch it on our sewing machine. So we're just going to do a regular straight stitch. If you want to be fancy, you can do a decorative stitch on it. But again, we're taking it beginner right now. And especially since this is kind of thick, I would recommend that you stay with a regular top stitch, because we don't want anything too extra going on. Okay, so now I'm all set up with my sewing machine. I'm using my regular straight stitch. Here you see me using this reverse button. This is how I lock my stitches. So you do this at the beginning and end of your sewing. And here is my threaded top thread and my bottom thread. So usually when you're sewing, you want to kind of get coordinating colors. Since this is kind of busy, it's going to show up regardless. So I'm using a blue-black thread for this. So it really doesn't matter to me. So just be aware of that. So I'm just going to lift my presser foot. I'm going to line up the edge of my hem that we're going to be making. And at the bottom here, I have my sewing foot. This is how you regulate speed. We're going to lock it. And now we are going to straight stitch. Once you get towards that end, go a little bit slower. The only reason why I went that fast is because I'm kind of used to my sewing speed. Definitely go slower, but for me, I make straighter lines when I go fast. So that's why I went so fast. But once you get to this end, this is where it is a little bit more crucial. So I'm sewing right up to that end, and that's why I did barely those bits too with my foot. And now since I'm at the direct end, I'm gonna lock that stitch. And now I can just use my scissors to cut these threads. Now most sewing machines do have a thread cutter on the side. I don't bother with it because I'm gonna have to go close to cut off these tails anyway. So it doesn't matter to me to really use that. And I'm just going to do that on both ends. And now we have our hemmed sheet. So now we can try this on our bed. And you see nicely. And now we can also fold it down. And it is nice and hemmed and neat and pretty. Just like that. So now let's work on some pillows. Okay, so making pillows is also just as simple. It's just going to be a slightly different method to that. Now for this particular bed, it's very narrow. So the smaller pillows that you would normally see, like the two kind of big bed pillows that you would normally have on a bed, won't fit. So I'm going to do a long rectangle pillow for this top. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold over a rectangle, and I'm going to include like a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around. And then I'm going to measure if I need to trim any off. And it looks like what I'll need to do is trim just a little off. So we're going to do that now. I'm going to take about 1 inch off. And again, my sharp scissors make this relatively easy. And then we can lay that to the side and then go back. Let's make our rectangle pillow. Fold that over. Lay that to the side. And now we have our big rectangle pillow. Just like that. Okay? So now what we're going to do, flip it good side to good side. And we're going to make a big box. So 1/2 seam allowance all the way around. And then, and really you only have to do it on 3 sides. Because this is already hemmed for you. And then we're gonna stuff this pillow with our fluff. Alrighty guys, so we're gonna sew our pillow now. So remember what we did last time. We're gonna line up the very edge of our sewing line, where we're gonna make our first seam. The very edge, lock our stitch. We're gonna sew all the way down, and then we're gonna lift our presser foot after that, turn it, and continue sewing. But I'm gonna explain it along the way. Okay. Now I'm gonna take this presser foot, turn my fabric, and continue sewing. I'm gonna do this one more time. And then we're gonna leave about 1 inch open so that we have room to turn it. And once I get there, I'm gonna lock that stitch. So I'm gonna show you what this looks like. So remember, we had a folded edge, so we didn't need to sew that. We started our stitch over here. So we sewed a box all the way around and left about 1/2 inch, about 1 inch or so opening. And we locked it there again so that we can flip this inside out. So let's do that. as you see, our corners are rounded off. So what you can do, use a paintbrush or the rounded end of your seam ripper, not the pointy part, but the handle part. But see, I have these nice shear covers, so I can use this to turn my corners. So I'm just gonna poke that in all those corners. Very gently like that. And now we have our pillow cover. So now our pillow is right there in the middle of that little fruit patch. And we're going to stuff this pillow. It's getting nice and full. And the only thing we need to do now is to stitch this last part close. And just do that with a needle and thread. Okay, so I have my needle threaded. And what I'm gonna do is tuck in this open section. And then we're just gonna do a little blind slit stitch. And that is really so simple to do. You basically kind of go from one side of the fabric to the other and just feed it through. And what it creates is like a little parallel stitch. So I'm going to show you there. And then I'm just going to tuck that tail. And again, what you're going to do your blind stitch, you are going to go one side of the fabric and then catch the other side and then just pull through. And that's how you do your blind stitch. And you just do that all the way to the end of your seam. Okay. So then I'm just going to knot it once or twice. Cut this tail off. And then you can use your needle to tuck the tails. And now you can't even tell where it started or stopped. We're back, and we have our bed, and we have our linens that we made before. Our simple little cover. And we're gonna fold it back. Fold it back up so that our finished edge lays flat like that. And then we have our pillow. So we're done. It's all ready for our doll to have a good night's rest. Here's Barbie, nice and comfy on her bed. We can tuck her in with her pillow. And Barbie, or whomever this bed is gonna be for, can have a good night's rest in linens that you made yourself. So now, what do you do with your leftover fabric? Well, if you have any left over from making your bed linens and pillows, you can use them for things like towels and beach mats. So this large rectangle that I had, I'm going to use it as a beach mat. And what I did is very simply, on the two sides that didn't have the finished edges from where I cut, I just folded them over and top stitched. And now we have a cool little beach mat for Barbie to sit on. Alrighty guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please keep in mind, I am a beginner sewer myself, and I'm sharing with you things that I'm learning along the way. So hopefully you find them helpful, and I'll see you next time. Bye.